back wall. We need a copy of the code of conduct is posted on that. Roll call's been taken, so we'll stand and do the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item is acceptance of Mayor Kelly's resignation. It's been posted. You both have a copy of it. The motion and second on that.
Motion to accept Mayor Kelly's resignation.
Second that.
Motion to accept Mayor Kelly's resignation was made by Sheminti and seconded by Peterson. Sheminti,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Second is Matt Thompson reading the oath for the mayor position, moving in from council president. I, Matt Thompson, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Nebraska against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear with true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely and without mental reservation or for the purpose of evasion, and that I faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of mayor according to the law and to the best of my ability. And I do further swear that I do not advocate, nor am I a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States, or of this state by force or violence. And that during such time as I am in this position, I will not advocate nor become a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or the state of force by violence, so help me God. Consent agenda. Minutes were emailed and posted. Treasurer's report and claims are attached.
Motion to approve in consent agenda.
Second that.
A motion to approve the consent agenda was made by Sheminti and seconded by Peterson. Peterson,
Yes.
Sheminti,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Open discussion. Vincent Kirby.
Come up there, Stan.
Yeah, you can come. Is it in regards to the plot?
Yes.
Do you want to wait until then?
Oh, no, it's not.
It's not.
Your issue. Oh, sorry.
Okay. Good.
Stan?
Yep.
Sure.
Or you can say whatever you want to do.
Good evening. We stand in front of the UTAN City Council tonight and request consideration to rezone our property from light industrial to commercial. Our property is located on the north side of Highway 92 across from Lear Automotive. Our team, Trent Gum and I, are the owners of the property. We live in the area. I'm southwest of Waterloo, and Trent is from the Gretna area. We both work out of our first UTAN building, we plan to stay in the area long term. Reason to allow change of zoning to commercial. Retail tenants mainly create a better visual property appearance, better curb appeal. Although we currently have some ugliness to our property from trailers and construction, we'll tighten this up once the new build is complete. Another reason to allow the requested zoning to commercial is there are already retail properties around us. The current zoning, light industrial, allows for farm equipment sales, heavy equipment sales, and vehicle storage. Doesn't it make sense to allow retail sales in this area? Lastly, retail tenants generate tax revenue, and hopefully, if this area ever gets annexed, it would generate for city of Utah.
Do you have a request for that?
That's something they wanted to bring to council as a preliminary discussion.
Okay.
So it's something we can talk about more toward the end.
Okay, in term of discussion.
Yep.
Justin
Is that
Barney.
your building there on 92, the
Yeah.
new construction there?
Yes.
I'm Justin Barney, live right up here on Vine Street. First, I just want to thank Matt for taking on the role of mayor. I know it takes a lot to step into a position to serve the people. And I'm sure your experience on the fire department is going to have you well prepared for situations that can change on a dime, as we saw today, right? I also want to thank you for your, getting a temporary treat-off site set up. I don't know if you were 100% involved in that, but making those decisions, obviously last minute is exactly what we need. I also just want to say it's no secret that I disagreed with some of the decisions from our government, and that hasn't kept me from being involved in the city or anything like that. And I'm going to try to get back on the routine of being more involved with other meetings as far as like planning commission, the other boards that meet throughout the month. But with that being said, I do want to express my interest in filling the vacant council seat. I don't know if this is the right form to fill out or not. I still had it, but I have it here, so I am expressing my concern on that. I hope you guys do consider me for that position because I do want to be involved in this. So, thank you.
Ken, Chimini?
I just want to thank city workers for what they did today and the fire department for going out there and marking all the down things, the wires and stuff. Good to see the city come together and everybody work together, and that's it.
Thank you. Moving on to ordinances, second reading of ordinance 805.
That's the one that's has to do with pay and benefits, so if we're going to be, yeah, do you want to kill that? Should we kill that Marine, or we're gonna make another amendment, or can we amend it between now and the last reading?
You can amend it between now and the last reading.
Okay.
You just need to make sure that that amendment is available to the public before the next reading so they can see it.
Okay.
Since we got a couple others here, let's just move that down the list and go to the rural conditional use permit.
Okay.
Look around for staff report.
You should all have within your packet a copy of the staff report. So in the zoning review team, fences require review approval. By allowance, staff can permit up to 6 feet. And on industrial properties, specifically industrially zoned properties, they're allowed an additional 2 feet by conditional use. So that's essentially what's being asked right now. The applicants, Brad and Jean, are here today. Basically, this property that they've had for a while, they're looking for security on it. The fence as proposed would be only along the perimeter of the fence. This went to Planning Commission last week. Planning Commission voted to adopt findings in approval of their request, and then voted to recommend approval. So the decision is now yours essentially. On page 3 of the staff report would be the Planning Commission's recommended findings. Those could be basically with small amendments adopted by you in order to support the request if you saw fit. And that does, those findings address the conditional use criteria of our zoning verbatim. And then I included on page 6 of the staff report, the standard conditions that would be included in the permit, only so that you can see those. And as if, pardon me, if as part of this review that you guys are considering, you decide to grant approval and you want to see additional conditions on there, so long as they're tied to what they're actually proposing and basically accounting for any impacts that could occur, those could be considered. And the reason I said those two things is those are legal standards that were decided by the US Supreme Court. When you're doing this kind of stuff, it has to be tied to what they're actually proposing. And the impacts have to be related to, I should say the conditions that we were to put in have to be tied to their specific proposal. If you find impacts to whatever it would be, public health, safety, and welfare. This was kind of straightforward. Yeah, I guess the applicant should have an opportunity to speak, but before then, if you have any questions for me, please feel free to ask that.
I just think it's a good idea, security for your property and security just for safety for kids not maybe getting back there with the apartments getting done.
that they'd be able to, you know, get hurt on something that was out, so.
Anything else? Open up the public hearing. At 7:10. Is that it?
Put a fence up. Put fence, but I'm looking into my concrete blocks. And so he says that's gonna be 8 feet.
Just to clarify what he's talking about, so they've got blocks already on the property. The way that the zoning reads, you have to judge the height of the fence, including whatever it's founded on. So their ground level on their side of their property is a little lower than the blocks, but it's from that point where the ground hits the blocks up, it's the 8 feet they're allowed. So that it's worded appropriately in the zoning, but it does create an odd circumstance like where their foundation is above the ground line. And there are certain spots where the chain link itself is only gonna be like, 4 feet? As a result of that, I can't remember exactly, there's gonna be parts where the chain link is smaller, wasn't it? Was that part of the discussion? Okay, so it's pretty much
Pretty level
level
going
then.
Put up 6-foot fence.
Okay, so it's pretty much level then.
On,
2-foot blocks will be 8 foot tall.
yeah, the highest is gonna be is 2 foot above ground.
Are you putting a gate in the front? Is that what you're planning on? Okay. We got anything else? We'll close the public hearing at 7:11. Yeah, motion and a vote.
Motion to approve, the conditional use permit for the Roll property.
Second that.
A motion to approve the roll conditional use permit was made by Schmidt and seconded by Peterson, Thompson,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Right. Moving on is the Clear Creek preliminary plot. Robert?
Okay, so once again, staff report should have been included in your packets. So the applicant for this are Mitch and Beverly Storm, who are also here today. So this subdivision is roughly, it's not roughly, it's an 11 lot subdivision. It's about a mile west of town, right at the intersection of County Roads N and 7. It is for the most part within our extraterritorial jurisdiction. There is one lot that is more of a majority outside of the ETJ. And if the ETJ were to not change, that would be under the jurisdiction of Saunders County, based off of their comment that they gave back to us. But it's entirely possible that we could annex a little bit west and then that would become fully in. These are roughly 3-acre lots. It's essentially a rural residential subdivision. There would be one road that traverses from, I should say, between County Road N and County Road 7. And the preliminary plats should have been included in your packet. This is one of the most straightforward subdivisions I have ever seen in my career. Their engineer consultant pretty much hit all the boxes as far as addressing the standards for design that are required. There are 2 things that we should discuss here today that popped up as a result of the preliminary plat, or pardon me, the planning commission's review last week. We got comment from the fire department, who also is here today. Our fire chief, Matt, who's now also mayor, basically provided comment wanting to see an emergency water supply provided to the subdivision. So staff has included a condition in the preliminary plat conditions, those conditions being on page 5, by the way. Nope, pardon me, that's actually the condition that start on page 7. Basically, the condition would be that prior to final plat approval, the concerns of the fire department be addressed. I did not word it specifically to say it needed to be any kind of specific emergency water supply. That way, there's a little bit of room between the applicants and the fire department if there's another solution to address their concerns out there. So that's something you guys might want to discuss amongst yourself and or with the applicant. The other item that we discovered during planning commission review last week was, basically. I'd included a standard condition, I say standard because it's standard with most subdivision review, that you install all improvements prior to final plating. Final plating being the stage where they've done everything they need to do and they're taking a plat into Saunders County Courthouse and recording and creating the lots. The condition would have stated that utilities be provided to each lot. Again, that's something that I've seen standard in all subdivisions. However, during last week's review with the planning commission, it was brought to our attention that OPPD currently isn't even touching extension of utilities until after the lots are developed.
Completely finished.
Yeah, and based off of a conversation that I had the day after with one of their design guys, this is how they're gonna do it. They put their foot down, that's just the way it's gonna go. So as a result of the planning commission review, they highlighted condition number 8. For you guys to consider how to resolve this. It's possible that as part of your approval, we could have a condition included in their subdivision improvements agreement. Basically, well. Matt, this is your idea, so maybe I'm stealing your thunder. This is a conversation that Matt and I had the day after this meeting. That basically, prior to purchase of the lots, the developer would be required to install utilities there. So that cost is not on the future buyer. That's the whole point of trying to make sure that they get everything before final plat, is that the lot owners don't have an unnecessary financial burden placed on them, which is, you know, typically you would have the developer do this kind of stuff. The idea is to not put that on the future lot owners. So there are potential options, and Matt, maybe you've looked into some more ideas, we can talk about that. The planning commission's findings and recommendation of this are on page 5. There are 2 waiver requests that are associated with this subdivision. One is related to requirement for sidewalks along internal access roads. They're asking not to have those. The findings of fact adopted by the planning commission support that waiver. And then the second is requirement for paving on the internal access roads. And once again, the planning commission adopted findings and recommended grant approval of that waiver. So, once again, the applicant should have an opportunity to speak, but before then, if you have any questions for me, I can take those now.
What do you mean by emergency water supply?
Well, why don't we ask?
Yeah.
Archie?
Like a retention pond, what are we talking about?
No, some kind of way to hook up to hydrants, some kind of water supply to firefighters. For emergency, like a house fire.
What would that entail? I mean, having to put like another well in, just a hydrant.
And I had talked to Mitch about it, and it sounds like they're planning on doing something anyways. So I think we're comfortable. We're to the point, I mean, he hasn't got it on paper yet, but we made the conversation. I don't think it's gonna be an issue. The other thing was, power. I think we went through the same thing when we did our development. They won't, OPPD won't do anything until that final plot is in their hands. After that final plot's in their hands, then they'll run utilities for you.
Is that our stipulation or
So it's
our being the city?
It's a stipulation that I included in there based off of my reading of the subdivision regulations and the typical intention of review of a subdivision, which is to reduce impacts, and just make sure that everything is done prior to the plat approval. So that was a long way of saying yes.
Okay.
So if you make this, if we approve this, we need to include not putting OPPD on there.
So, well, yeah, if you guys decide to move forward with preliminary plat approval, condition 8 definitely needs to be addressed. The question is how you guys want to do that. If you agree with me, that and the planning commission, at least in part, that this should be addressed somehow. we need to find a mechanism in order to make sure that this expense isn't on future lot owners. And again, that could be just an inclusion of language in the subdivision improvements agreement. It's an option. Maybe there's some other mechanism I'm not thinking of that you guys are aware.
So this is your subdivision agreement also as an alternative to filing the final plat after all the improvements are made. The allowance of having an escrow put in place to guarantee that that's done, so you can actually approve the final plat first.
That's absolutely an option.
I think that's in standard provision subdivision
Okay.
ordinance, and I haven't looked at the ordinance today, but I suspect that's in there. And that might be, it might be just an escrow for the OPPD piece.
Mhm.
Everything else is done, they provide the escrow, it's in a bank, it guarantees that it's gonna have something like that.
I couldn't speak for sure on whether or not that's included in our subdivision regulations.
So that's something to look at. The subdivision agreement doesn't need to be approved until final plat either.
That is correct. Yep,
So should
that's why it's kind of
This
flexible.
is kind of a preliminary.
Yep.
so make the X number. Anybody got anything else for Robert? I'll go open up public hearing. Open the public hearing for the Clear Creek Acres at 7:21. Go
Well,
ahead,
that
Mitch.
OPPD thing. Yeah, I'm gonna pay for the OPPD, you know, put the main line in. I mean, so if that's the holdup, I mean, cause I can't do nothing for the final plat. And right now, if I sign today, or you guys do a final plat today, the waiting list right now is 1 year to 18 months before I'm even on the list.
Yep.
That's how long it is right now. So every day or whatever, it just adds on to it. So I really, you know, the final plat thing, I mean, you're talking 1.5 years already before we can even get power. So. I mean.
So are you
it's not
saying running the main power and then to each property as well? Like, I don't know how that works.
They run, OPPD will run the main line and put
Mhm.
boxes on every
Lot.
that splits,
Okay.
yeah, every lot. After that, then the homeowner will pay for theirs, because I don't know where they're gonna build, you know,
Their
That's the
electrician
whole-
doesn't-
The connection, gotcha, okay.
yeah,
Thank you.
and I already plan on paying for that, so I don't know why that, you know.
No.
You know, so that's the big stipulation that's holding up everything. Like I said, me and Matt talked about the water and stuff, so.
If we're good, other than the. You know, we got to figure out the wording right for the OPPD.
Mhm.
Can we approve, do we have to approve
This
the
is just-
preliminary?
You've got to approve those waivers.
Okay.
Specifically, if we make the findings on those 2 waivers, I think the planning commission might have that set out. That's right. Need to do that, and then after that, you can approve the preliminary plat with the waivers today, so they can move towards final. Well, I've got a question on that, on the OPPD. If we approve the final, will OPPD move forward even if we don't have it on file at the courthouse?
No,
No, it has to be on.
there was he was offering no leeway on that. They
We
wanted
just-
a lot.
Mylar has to be
Standard,
on
done.
file. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, which again is pretty unusual, but based off of my conversation with this guy last week, they've got 2 people working on this for the whole area. So they've got quite the
So
backbone.
we'll look at your subdivision regs and see if we can do a local document.
How soon can we do a final plat then?
Well, he just needs to have his engineer turn it in and after your approval tonight, because it needs to be set up for him.
And that's gonna be 3 hearings again, is that right? We should,
Planning commission and then you.
Okay.
2 minutes.
and we can probably expedite those, right? So we don't have to wait a whole
Well,
month.
you have to put them in paper.
Well, we can do it, it's within 10 days, once we put
Okay.
it in the paper, it's
Paper,
within
10
10
days.
days for both of them, so that's our version of expediting.
You
Yep,
guys good with that?
Yeah,
Fast as we can.
fast as we can.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
We got anything else?
So are we including like escrow language or not doing that or what?
I said, we'll work on that for the final plat stage.
Okay.
Yeah. We can say that we'll get that.
so you guys will want to make sure that you, in your motion, other than adopting the findings of fact as recommended by, or however you want to do it, from the planning commission. approving the two waivers. And then you're gonna want to strike, just because, as you'll note in the recommended conditions, number 10, redundant, so you're gonna want to strike number 10. And then number 8, we're gonna need to, why don't we put in something like prior to final plat approval? The subdivision improvements agreement will address
OPP.
extension of utilities to the lots.
This can all be in one motion.
Mhm.
I think I'd have a motion on their waivers
Yeah.
first, and maybe the findings of fact before we do these.
Right. We ain't got anything else to close the public hearing at 7:25. Looking for a motion to approve. Waiver number 1 would be the
Yep.
Sidewalk and pavement.
sidewalk. We do both of them together, Marie?
Pardon?
Can we do both waivers together?
Yeah, and adopt the findings of fact as found by the planning commission along with that.
I make the motion to adopt the findings of fact from the planning commission and approve the 2 waivers of the sidewalk and the pavement issues.
Second. Give it to Kyle.
She said that really fast. I didn't catch all of it.
I can tell you afterwards. I have it written down.
I have to say it.
Oh, so I make the motion to adopt the findings of facts proposed by the planning commission. And approve the 2 waivers of the issues of the sidewalk and the paving.
A motion to adopt the findings of fact proposed by the planning commission and above. Oh my gosh, and approve the 2 waivers for the sidewalk and paving was made by Peterson and seconded by Sheminti. Sheminti,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Second thing we'll need is council consideration of approval of the preliminary plat for Clear Creek. Is this where you want the subdivision agreement in there?
Yeah.
And the conditions.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, let me take a look at it. I make the motion to approve the preliminary plat with striking through condition 10. And prior to final plat approval, for the subdivision improvement agreement that they'll extend utilities to the lots.
So you're saying the subdivision improvement,
Maybe my chicken scratch.
the subdivision improvement agreement will address extension of utilities to the lots.
Yes,
Okay.
that's that, Brandon.
Second.
All right, let's see if I got it. A motion to approve Clear Creek Acres preliminary plat with the striking. Addition number 10. To the subdivision and addressing the extension of the utility to the lots was made by Peterson and seconded by Sheminti. Peterson,
Yes.
Sheminti,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. So you guys will get together in the next couple days. Yeah, no. Next on the list is accept Lori Kidd's resignation from the planning commission. I'm understanding that she moved out of town, is that right?
Yes, she moved to Blair.
I'll make that motion to approve Lori Kidd's resignation letter from the planning commission.
Second about.
A motion to approve Lori Kitt's resignation from the planning commission was made by Thompson and seconded by Peterson. Sheminti,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Financing for their First and Poplar Street project. Wow.
We've been discussing how to finance the First and Poplar Street project. We passed the resolution to go out for that financing. The First State Bank came back with the lowest bid to do conventional financing for that. by law, you can only stretch those out to 7 years. But the 7 years actually helps save with some interest and some additional costs that would have been running it out to 10 years. There was a resolution included in your packet. I noticed the agenda doesn't specifically state that resolution number. Is it still possible to do that, Maureen, without stating that specifically?
Yeah, that's fine. As long as the resolution, the topic is on their agenda.
It is,
That 2024-3.
yes. And basically, I'll read the points of that resolution. It's the findings made herein and above should be incorporated herein. That public notice for meeting this resolution was acted upon, was provided a clear notation that this resolution authorizing direct borrowing from a financial institution did appear on the agenda, that the amount of the indebtedness for the purchase of the property to be acquired and described below shall be $600,000 at 4.25% interest for a period of 7 years, payable in following installments of 14 semi-annual payments of $50,185. That said indebtedness does not exceed 20% of the municipal budget of the city. That prior to approving this resolution, the city did consider the extent possible proposals from multiple financial institutions and determined to borrow the funds directly from First State Bank, a financial institution included in the definition provided for in the findings set forth above. That the funds shall be used for the following construction improvements for the 2019 street improvements project, First and Poplar Streets. That the certificate of deposit held at First State Bank, account number 3103, in the amount of $364,298, and the TIF Series B note, Mason Creek Apartments 2, in the amount of $297,220, be held as collateral for the direct borrowing from First State Bank. That said payments for said loans shall be sourced equally from highway allocation funds collected by the city and TIF funds collected by the Community Redevelopment Authority. Essentially, that's what it says.
Take a motion and a second for that. Financing for First and Poplar, I guess. We probably just need a motion to approve the resolution, right? 2024-3.
Motion to approve resolution 2024-3.
Second that.
A motion to approve resolution 2024-3 in the amount of, what was it, 600,000? Was made by Schminty and seconded by Thompson,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Schminty.
Yes.
Waiving the 180-day employee probation period. What's recommended in our handbook for the 180 days for a new employee. Dr. Robert, I think he's up to par. And I think he's due at the end of or Bob's not due till August, right?
Yeah, he's June.
Yeah, he's June. I think they're both settling in well. For these two, I'd like to waive the 180-day employee probation. That would appoint him to the city administrator.
So we really need a motion to waive the 180-day probationary period for both Bob and Robert, address them both in one motion.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve waiving the 180-day probationary period for Bob as the city administrator and Robert as the community engagement coordinator.
Second. I got that one.
A motion to waive the 100-day employee probation for Robert Costa and as a community engagement coordinator and Bob Oliva,
You can say it however you want.
Bob Oliva as city administrator is made by Schminty and seconded by Thompson. Peterson,
Yes.
Schminty,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Here's one, ordinance 805 first. When do Brandy's opinion?
No, actually, that's just a discussion item.
This is the cell
No,
phone.
mine's an action
Right,
item.
I'm saying, before we go. Randy, can we go that one? This will probably be the last thing.
Oh,
Do we?
So you gonna do handbook then? Yeah. Ordinance 805 for the second reading. The cell phone usage, it updates the report or the book for allowing cell phone usage at the beginning of the packet. Bob?
Or you want, what are you asking me, Matt?
Uh,
Basically, but we need an ordinance to cover everything that we're changing for each employee. We made one change for the cell phones in 805. Now, if we're gonna be changing Brandy's status and pay, we need to document that in ordinance. Am I correct? Reading that,
Is it in 805? Is everything in there?
it's not.
No,
we're-
805 was just the cell phone.
So you'll need a new ordinance drafted.
Yeah.
You're going to have a change of pay. So be whatever your next ordinance is.
so probably just scratch this one, right? One new ordinance.
Mhm.
What you've been doing is carrying the same format, but you have to adopt a new ordinance if you change anything in there. So you're gonna have it advertised as a different ordinance.
Okay, we were gonna do 805, but then there's gonna be another change right on the heels of it before 805.
Oh,
Was
you're gonna do a
approved.
second reading on 805 and change it now.
Mhm.
Do an amend, have somebody move to amend 805 right now. Okay, yeah, you could do a motion to amend 805, do the second reading of the amendment. I guess the question is, if you're making the amendment tonight, would you waive the third reading or not? If it was, nobody knew about it leading into this.
I would say you would not. I think we were planning on doing
Do
all
the
three.
amendment tonight, so that then it can be advertised for one more meeting.
Right.
Okay.
So do we need to do the,
So what are you looking at changing? It's going to be on the city clerk
Yes.
hourly rate.
we find we go in closed session first? Do that first, right, Green?
Yeah.
And then we can. We'll make a motion to go into closed session to discuss ending the Kirk Bolter's interim city administrator. But we'll include Randy, Bob, the council, and the ring.
I think we have to ask Brandy if she wants to go into executive session.
Yes.
Sorry, it was posted on here, she
Yeah.
didn't.
Say the time and how long.
Going at 7:38.
For how long?
You don't designate how long.
Oh, we were told that you had to by state statute.
It does, you just say when you come out when it's, when it ended and how long it lasts.
Okay.
On the end, on the backside,
We were taught by lawyers at school that you had to.
you know. There's nothing in the laws.
Give me a second.
Anybody seconding it? Okay. Thank you. Hey Kyle, do you approve to go into closed executive session at
Yes.
7:38? Thompson,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
We won't be too long. All right, so we're gonna go back to 8:05. We're through that first, then we'll go to Brandy's.
Somebody else. Yeah, but I will die.
Yeah, that's.
It's 8:05.
He's like, it's not. I will not.
oh, leave that door open. It feels so good.
Brandy, is this supposed to be 8:04, 8:05?
8:05.
Our memo
Yes,
shows
I see
8:04.
that.
Oh, okay, so there's.
Yeah, it is 8:05.
Thanks, guys, sorry. So we'll entertain a motion in a second, for the reading of ordinance 805. Which is the cell phone usage.
What's the motion? You entertain.
The approval of the second reading of ordinance 805 or to waive the remaining waive the
Or
remaining.
answer, I would say answer and to, waive the third reading.
And were you combining the
You
other
can
stuff into
combine
this
those
one?
two.
No.
No, okay.
I'll make the motion to approve ordinance 805 and waive the remaining readings. Is that right?
I'd approve the second reading, waive the third reading, and approve the overall ordinance. Those three things. Do you want to get it done all at once?
That's what he said.
That's what I
You
said.
got
Randy.
That second.
Second that.
Yeah, you have to council them. You can't make the motions anymore.
Yeah.
Mayor.
Man, I can't.
Even though there's only 3 of us tonight?
All right, here we
You're
go.
not a legislator anymore.
I will make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 805, waive the third reading and approve ordinance 805.
I'll second that, sorry. The dollar amount zoning out.
A motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 805 and waive the remaining third reading of ordinance 805 and approve the overall readings of ordinance 805 was made by Sheminti and seconded by Peterson. Sheminti,
Yes,
Thompson,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes,
Need a motion a second to end clerk or city intern clerk Bolter's term as the city intern. City administrator.
I'll make a motion to approve the end of Randy Bolter's term as interim city administrator and return to city clerk with an effective date of, is it this Saturday?
Mhm.
With an effective date of May 25th, 2024.
second that.
A motion to approve the end of Clerk Bolter's term as city administrator and return her to city clerk. Effective date of May 25th, 2024 was made by Sheminti and seconded by Peterson. Sheminti,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes,
All right, discussion items. While these guys are here, we can get them out of here. Talk about the 522 County Road M. Robert, do you want to touch base on that a little bit?
Yeah, so. A gentleman approached me. Last week, it's been a couple of weeks, in my head at least. Basically looking to see what they could do. In terms of sales, in the light industrial zone. The light industrial zone. Is written very strangely with this permitted uses. They have a potential tenant that would be doing higher end automobile storage. And wants to do with that sales. The way that the uses, permitted uses are worded, storage would be allowed without question. Sale is not clear. There could be wiggle room, but it wasn't in any way, shape, or form where I could say, yes, absolutely, this makes sense and I can prove it. So their potential tenant, in order to do proper licensing, needs something from the local government saying, yes, this is an approved use, yes, you're permitted to do it, go forth. With the way that light industrial is written, you can have a paper supply business. No problem, permitted, but you couldn't do that. You could have varying kinds of other sales, but you couldn't do that. The light industrial zone within UTAN's jurisdiction is a unique mixture of commercial and industrial uses. But the commercial aspect of it, it's not written. It seems like intent only is what happened with this particular zone. So they, and after the conversations with them, they really are quite happy with their potential tenant. They've made the argument that it's gonna bring good business, it's gonna be attractive. This guy apparently wants to do everything right, including coming to us and getting the proper permissions. But in order to do that, they would need to go through the proper public review process to amend the zoning in order to specifically allow automobile sales. Now the question's probably gonna come up, what about leads? What about any other number of businesses? I can't speak to those. I can only speak to how this reads and what it says and how it should be applied. And based on them coming in, we could not say, yes, go for it. So the proper way to do this is if they really want to, they would propose an amendment that would include automobile storage and sales as a permitted use or potentially as a committed use or conditional. Pardon. So they're looking to you for not an answer, not a yes or a no. That would need to go through proper public review, but they're at least curious to know if the council would be willing to entertain the question and what your thoughts are. So that's why they're here.
Is a conditional use in play here?
It could be, absolutely. That's one of the reasons why they wanted to bring this to your attention.
Because it's
that
not on the
discussion.
conditional use, it's not on the conditional use list right now. They would need to ask a text amendment be made to that zoning.
That's the point, yep.
So it's not a change of zoning, it's a change of zoning text.
So
I think that kind of makes sense, right?
Oh,
Because,
it
I
does.
mean, you're in industrial anyways, and, we'd like that as in our industrial area, right? And then right next door, you can have sales at the other building. But just to not allow automotive, right?
Well, and this is like a silly question, can the whole area be a mix of? Like, can we do a blanket thing that light industrial and or commercial? So that we're not spot doing this for,
No, and so here's the difference. So one option is he asks for a change of zoning district. That makes a major difference because then you have to consider all the things in that other zoning district that anybody, even somebody, if he sold the property, they could do it. Oftentimes you don't want to have that big a change. You just want to be able to add just a little bit, and that's where the zoning text amendment comes in, because you still maintain the exact same coverage, you just add one more option for somebody.
Is that something that would suffice you guys?
Yeah, that would be great. We're coming to you looking for advice.
Yeah.
So what they would have to do is apply for a zoning text amendment and recommend the exact language, and then planning commission has a hearing on that, you guys have a hearing on that. If you decide it's gonna be a conditional use permit, then they're gonna have to apply for the conditional use permit and go through that.
So
It's just gonna be a
zoning text is
permitted-
Probably the clearest path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's-
and does that then only apply to their property, or
Any
does that apply to
property.
any property
Any
out there?
property in that zoning.
Okay, so that's kind of what I was
And
getting at, so that way we're not
It
going
gives
through
everybody
this.
the Same opportunities, yeah.
Easy enough?
Yeah, I think sounds great.
So it sounds like there's automobile storage there, and then there's gonna be sales at the location too. But I'm just curious.
Yeah, so we don't want to be completely pigeonholed. We'd like the opportunity if there's anything else. Light retail that might go on there. Is that something that would be acceptable also?
And then I think you have to think about parking issues as well when you get into retail sales and things. So would that apply in all those areas? Would they have enough parking to? Or is it conditional, so they would have to be able to show they have enough room for parking in order to get a conditional use permit for a certain use?
So you're saying like anything retail, or are you going like accessory to car parts or something that more to go in line with the auto sales?
Yes, something like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
I think you want to limit that.
So Vincent, one thing I'll say in response to your question specifically, the city is planning on updating its zoning and revising it. And one of the things that we would be doing as part of that process is specifically looking at what works and what doesn't. And that pertains more to your question. That would be a more overall look at how the light industrial zone and every other zoning district works.
Okay.
So, but we want to, with your specific, we really want to hone in the allowance as you guys are looking at it. And that makes sense for the rest of the district too, what you're looking at. So, but we can have that conversation
Sounds good.
You guys good with something like that?
Yeah.
Work through that with Robert and
So what are next steps?
They have to apply for it.
We'd have to file for that zoning text.
text them. Yeah,
Okay.
awesome.
That's not mine.
And is that able, are we able to get that done quickly? That might be a Robert question. Quickly in order to get to next month's planning commission meeting and this next month.
We can look at it. If you wanna come by later this week, we can talk about the timeframes.
Okay,
They were
yep.
first public
No, we'll
notice,
definitely
a bunch
do
of other things.
No problem.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, yep, thank you.
When's the building gonna open up? It's close, right?
As soon as we can, yeah, stop raining.
Stop raining, help you out a little bit. Yeah,
You guys made a lot of progress last month.
Yeah, I went quick, sorry.
looks good.
Good, thanks.
Um, and if Robert hasn't told you guys, we do have an annexation map of that area. We're kind of in the
Oh, it's
process.
coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
Okay,
We're in the process of that, so.
Okay.
Just so you guys are aware.
good.
All right, employee handbook.
I guess on the employee handbook part of it, we kind of left it last month to, well, I don't know exactly where we did leave it, but to maybe use I think just talking with you guys, to use the current version that's out there that we have now and to build off of it or make changes off of it. And we also wanted to address the permanent part-time positions, as we told Tim and Lori that we would do within 60 days. I went to ask Lori what she would be happy with as far as what she would like to see her benefits be. I've passed those on to you. I really think you guys are agreeable, from what I understand, to what Lori proposed. As for right now, I think that's here is happy with the permanent part-time designation. I mean, it's a very common designation for government employees. One is me. The only, I think, hang up that really anybody has over that, and I don't know if it should be that big of a hang up, is how many hours per week that is for permanent part-time, for full-time. It could be done a lot of ways. One way that we addressed it, where I came from, it wasn't per week. It was just a set limit of hours per year. And anytime anybody went over 1,000 hours, then you would receive full-time benefits for the year. So, I mean, it could be set on a yearly basis. I mean, those things could be discussed when we hone in on the handbook. But as far as the only real change that would be made to Tim and Lori is not something that's not in the handbook. It just wasn't being followed, was the prorating, the vacation or the PTO and the sick leave. And that is really the only change that we would be making, is going back and following those rules.
So can the full-time and the permanent part-time be as easy as full-time is 40 hours and permanent part-time is anything under 40 hours?
And it's usually like 38 or something. But yeah, I mean, you can set a benchmark, I suppose. And what you're suggesting is, I'm not sure how the annual works. If you're gonna be prorating things, is it based on the last year?
Well, the reason we use it where I came from is because we were tied into the public retirement system.
Yeah.
So anybody that worked over 1,000 hours automatically, if they were an employee of yours, went into the public retirement system, and you had to offer them benefits.
Right, and so the question is, what do you do before you get to 1,000 hours? Are they not getting any benefits for the
Correct.
first half of the year?
Yeah, and if they're intended on being that position, you don't let them work over those set hours. Once they get to that set hours, then
It probably doesn't work well in a small.
Smaller.
yeah. And there's
Or-
lots of ways to do it.
Do it.
So it'd be more of an average of so many hours.
And I think it's kind of what we talked about, an average of, I think Lori's was 30 some hours.
But
Tim's was like 6.
I think Lori wants to stay right around 30 hours, correct?
And we also talk outside, just individually about, I'd like to do a workshop to revamp the employee handbook, go through, get it up to date. It sounds a lot simpler than having to sit here and every 2 months change something, update something. Let's do a 1 or 2 nights. It's only 26 pages. Hash it out. You're good with that?
Yeah, so just so I'm clear though, as far as the benefits that we're discussing here for permanent part-time, those go back into effect. Everything is essentially as it was, right? Okay.
And you're good with what you presented, right? Tim?
Good Bob talk.
Yeah.
No, Joanne made a comment about permanent, part-time and full.
Thanks, guys.
It's gonna be a little different because all the people who are gonna meet me are different than seasonal, so you're gonna give them benefits.
No, so they would be part-time, so they would, I mean, so it's still gonna have a part-time and a permanent part-time, it's just permanent part-time are awarded benefits on a prorated based on how many hours they work, I guess is the easiest or the simplest way to say it, maybe.
Not, maybe not hours they've worked, but hours the position, calls for.
Right,
whatever we wanna
whatever
say,
their
right?
schedule is, or, yeah.
So did you guys decide what that would be then? Is that gonna be like for the library, would that be 30?
Yeah, whatever you recommended here, we're in agreement with. You have 30 hours, permanent part-time, and then all the prorated.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll have some discussion about doing an employee handbook work night. Doesn't have to be right now. Feel like we're in the middle of the season, so. Director supervisory reports. Everybody's attached. Lori, do you have anything to add to yours?
No.
Loops,
Did you guys did you get Luke's?
Yes, I
Yep.
made
Okay.
the copies in here.
yeah, what happened today? I don't know if you guys have all been down to Hayes Fields. It's a disaster. Town is a disaster. I'm not gonna say a disaster because it came together pretty well at the end of the day. And even driving through town, it's pretty well cleaned up, so. We got some work to do up there, up on this side of town and then the ball fields, but. I walked down there before I came here and honestly, field ones basically playable right now. So. Goes to show when you put money into your, what you got, it works in the long run. There's a lot of cleanup though. There's mud down there. We're gonna have to buy some rock. We're gonna have to buy. So just keep that in mind.
Did the concession stand flood?
It did
Really?
about 2.5 feet, almost 3 feet.
It was halfway up on the fence on that first field, the water was.
Is that a first? I've never heard of that.
I've never heard of it. Jason said it's the first time he's seen.
I don't think we've ever had water come up that high, but it was, we had it flood maybe 10 years ago. But it flooded off of Meriwether's field and everything ran down to the fields and pools and then went to the creek. This time it worked its way from the creek up.
And I think like one of my coworkers, he lives on Candlewood and like his patio furniture was underwater. And the guy that's lived there like 20 years said he's never seen the water level that high in the last 20 years.
I've seen it flooded, but I've never seen it reach past the concession stand.
I think after we get this cleaned up, probably need to have street cleaning done again. I'll have to get the place cleaned back up and I get them painted. So if you can schedule it within a couple of days.
Maybe that, you know, not the dump day when everybody's smiling, so, but
To do is clean up.
yeah.
Okay.
Only a couple weeks away.
I'll do that too.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, at least check his schedule.
He's gonna probably be pretty busy in Wahoo.
Yeah. Yeah, they got the same problem.
Wahoo, yeah, they,
Yeah.
worse than we did.
But I did have, so my assistant put in his 2 weeks on Friday. So we'll wanna, me and Bob talk about it, and how we wanna go forward, putting a job opening out there. But,
Yeah, post.
I discussed with. I think, about maybe looking at, being able to be a little more lenient on overtime in the maintenance department. Instead of looking at maybe hiring another guy or whatever we can do, but, adding overtime would be beneficial.
How much you thinking?
I would say if we could do 10 hours a week. And maybe cap it at that.
Is there a cap right now?
Well, we try to keep it at 42. is what I was always told.
The cap that I would foresee is what your budget is.
Yeah.
And that's pretty, I mean, that's pretty easy to figure out.
And I think we wanna discuss it, you know, if we set a cap at 10 hours now. When we start having our budget workshops, it'll be easy to start budgeting that in there.
I think we could probably do some work right now and find out what we got left in the budgets. You know, if we got, because I understand, especially now, it's gonna be clean up for a couple days and.
I did kind of want to make a little bit of a public comment about the budget and some things that I've found, just because I know most of the people that are here have been kind of concerned about
Yeah.
that, whenever it's my turn.
Yeah. Tim, you got anything? Robert?
Nothing to
All right, Bob, you're up.
I've been going back through the audit from last year, going back through all of the financials, bank statements. And I'm not really gonna call anybody out or blame anybody for anything, but on our audit. And I have some new updated reports for Matt and Joanna when the meeting's over. I can get them to you. But last year at the cash ending for the 23 year, the auditor was showing us with $1,519,000. And going back through all of our accounts, double checking, I was able to reconcile to the penny of what we had on that same date. And we had $1,676,000 in the bank, which was an extra $156,000, almost $157,000. So where that got lost in the shuffle, if they were, I have no idea. I can't find it. There's not just a number that you're seeing in that audit. That's $156,794. But I do know for a fact that was in there. I also, the current cash balance that we have now is in our accounts is $1,756,000, which is roughly 80,000 over what we started the year with, and we still have funds coming in. I'm going to go through the budget here in the next week or so and really identify those funds that we have coming in. Was a lot of blue sky budgeted in, I shouldn't say a lot, but some that was budgeted in there as far as things that like we're going to sell equipment for $20,000. Well, that's probably not going to happen. So that revenue we're not going to realize. And there were some other mistakes in there too. Not major mistakes, but really want to narrow down what we do have coming in with what the cash we had, so we don't end up in a situation where we're, think we're spending more than we are. So I'll have this for you. We are going to be over substantially on our payroll taxes. I'm not sure how this slipped through the system either, but we just in April and May have written checks for a total of $22,545 for back payroll taxes from 2022 and 2023. So that's going to punch a serious hole in our payroll tax budget. So we'll have to find that in the budget somewhere. So that could affect payroll or some other things as far as like overtime and things for this year. But I just want everybody and the public and you guys that I will be working very hard on this next year's budget. It's what I do and I'm pretty good at it, and we'll have things figured out. So I just kind of wanted to let everybody know that we're working really hard at getting things straightened out in here.
Then also we're gonna be posting the position for council, my council seat, along with Luke's job this next week, right? Yep. So if you guys know someone looking, Barney's interested, hopefully somebody's over there.
Did we send out the RSVPs for this?
Not this. Oh, yeah.
We sent out 8 and we've heard back from 2 so far. Actually, I've heard back from 3.
Rick Fortmeyer, we heard back from him, and who was the other one?
Forbes I've heard back from, and they have no interest on taking on more municipalities.
Okay.
And then there was one other one. I can't remember who it was. It was one of those weird name ones, like Langman and something.
Okay, that was the one out of.
Maureen, you might have some
Yeah.
recommendations for an auditor?
Off the top of my head, I know some people went down to, it was either Seward or York, but we had somebody retire, and I don't know if they're taking anybody else. There are fewer and fewer companies that are doing municipal.
Anybody in the public got anything else? No, take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I need a motion. to
Not
adjourn.
Oh,
vote.
I make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion to adjourn at 8:13 was made by Peterson and seconded by Sheminti. Thompson,
Yes,
Peterson,
Yeah.
Sheminti.
thank you guys.